All right, welcome to the FitBUX podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome there as well. As you guys know, we always talk about finance stuff from, personal finance stuff, paying off your loans, financial planning, all that type of stuff. And we interview people, oftentimes it's people along that journey, somewhere that they're at. And recently I've got a lot of people asking like, hey, can you talk about like entrepreneurship and stuff? And the answer is obviously yes. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to be interviewing Jessica and Andrew. I'm not going to go too much into their background. I'll let them do that. But we're going to talk about their journey, most importantly, their journey from basically working full time to taking the leap into saying, hey, we're going to become entrepreneurs and create a product and all this type of stuff. And we'll talk about what they're doing. But before we dive into it, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you both.
Thanks for having
Yeah, thanks for
us.
having us.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'll let you guys decide who goes first about like your background. Jessica, do you want to go first? Angie, do you want to go first? Like, just tell everybody just educational background, how you got started, all that type of stuff. How do you before today, what happened basically, like educational wise and all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Andrew, you
I'll
wanna-
start us off. We're both from Tennessee. I'm from Chattanooga, and she's from Nashville area. And went to high school here. Went off to college in Knoxville at University of Tennessee, and then we went to Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee, a small private school north of Knoxville. I majored in wildlife and fisheries, actually, and I love the outdoors and birds, anything wildlife. And then kind of went into the science, background as far as that goes, and then went to PA school, and that's where we met. And then we went down to Florida and did our clinical rotations for a year, and moved back here in 2016, and we've been back in Chattanooga ever since. So excited to be back, and I'm a physician assistant at Justice as well. But I do orthopedics and sports medicine here, so big into the sports world here in town, and anything and everything sports is fun. Taking care of patients,
which
but
is perfect for Andrew.
yeah,
That's his thing.
yeah,
So he fortunately had being from Chattanooga, he had some connections here when we first moved back. One of the things I think that PAs and NPs, when you first graduate, realize pretty quickly is it can be difficult finding the right job. It's hard to find a job where you want, with the pay you want, doing what you want. And so Andrew was super fortunate in that he had some connections here and he was able to get plugged right into this sports medicine clinic. My path was a little bit longer. I did a lot of cold calling clinics, and I ended up getting a job. My first job as a PA was in an ER. And that's how this whole idea for this business model that we've created came about. So yeah, it's been quite the journey. We've got two kids, and just Andrew's working full time, I'm working part time, and the rest of the time we're working on our app blocks.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much time like goes into it because I don't have two, I have one. And I mean, after she goes to sleep around like 9 o'clock, that's when my real day starts. Like,
Yeah.
I'm up till 1 or 2 in the morning working on stuff, and I'm up at like 5 or 6, like trying to get stuff done before she wakes up because we also homeschool her. So it's also
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
running around all day, and then my wife is working. And, it's just, so I'm right there with you. You guys are both PAs. How come you chose the PA route? Like, obviously, because there's a lot of healthcare professionals that choose this. And I always say this, like, if you're a PT, you can actually go the PA route. Like, if you want a PA, you can go the OT route, like NP route, because you guys are all smart students. You guys have options. How come you chose to go with the PA route?
Yeah, for me, it was a few different things. I knew I wanted to do something, even though I was a wildlife major in college. I knew I wanted to do something in the sciences and medical world. And growing up in sports, injuries. I thought about PT for sure, and then did some shadowing. Did some shadowing with PAs, MDs, surgeons, and kind of fell in love with the PA route. There's schooling is about 2.5 years as opposed to 8+ debt when you get out of school is at least half that of a doctor. I just I like the sense of teamwork, and as a PA I feel like you can spend more time with patients, sit down and have a little bit more one-on-one time. I think that's really important, just to be able to hear patients out instead of just running in and running out. Not all doctors are like that. It just seems in general it's more patient focused, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had a long and winding path to becoming a PA, but it really fell in my lap very organically. I was going to go to pharmacy school actually, and I was working in a pharmacy, and I thought, God, this is not for me. And so my pharmacist actually was like, "You have the personality and the skill set. You should really look into something med school, PA school," and shadowed a few PAs, and just kind of like Andrew said, it just felt right. It clicked. I love that we can move laterally. It's not a huge thing to switch specialties if you want to. I've done a few different things in my 8 years of being a PA. So it was just a really good fit for the lifestyle that I wanted, the kind of life I wanted to have. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, you brought up like the student debt ratios and stuff. I mean, I always say PA is like for the income versus the debt, it's one of the best like professions out there. Yeah, it's a good one. And then yeah, I like the sports stuff too, by the way. Like for those of you that are listening that I don't know, like I'm a former athlete. Like so I like that's actually how my wife had reconstructive surgery on my shoulder and she was my
Okay.
physical therapist. So
Awesome.
Cool.
Good
What
love
a great
story there.
story.
yeah, so and full disclosure, like I always have to say this whenever I do conferences or podcasts and I bring up that story, like she asked me out after she discharged me, so it was all HIPAA compliant. So we were
Okay. All right.
No conflicts of interest.
yeah, we were good. We were good. So but yeah, actually that's why I'm actually side note, that's like I'm like freezing right now. I have to do a cold plunge every morning because I
Oh,
broke or I fractured a vertebrae in my back playing ice hockey, and so the swelling in my back's jacked up. So I do a cold plunge every morning. So I'm like
Oh,
freezing
that's so
right
good
now.
for you, though.
how long do you sit in there?
6 to 9 minutes depending how cold I have it.
Whew,
Wow.
boy.
Yeah. So
I
um
can get like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
my wife just started using it about 3 days ago. So I actually have it higher temperature wise right now. It's about 50 degrees because she's trying to ease her way into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Acclimated. Yeah.
Don't throw
Uh,
her in 40-degree water.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I started doing it for my back, but I have really bad allergies. And when I started doing it, my allergies went away too because it was like the inflammation was gone. So it's just like, holy crap. So, anyway, yeah, that's I have a long list of injuries, but always fun, always fun. All right, so both of you are working, okay, being in physician's assistant, and you have two children, and most of the time when I talk to individuals, they're perfectly content with that, right? Because you're making good income, you have your family, you know, in your guys' journey, where were you at in terms of that? Because, like I said, a lot of people get content, and then a lot of people are like, where I'm restless. And a lot of them actually will completely say, I don't even want to be in this industry anymore. And they'll do something else. You guys took that leap into entrepreneurship. So just talk a little bit about, the problems that you saw and that journey along, like you said, Jessica, you've been a PA for 8 years now. Like, what does that journey look like that led you to the point as of today?
Yeah, again, it's kind of been a long path, but when I was working in the ER, I worked in, it was kind of a more of a rural ER. It definitely wasn't a teaching hospital or anything like that. And so I realized very quickly that I needed access to something that just gave me all the information that I needed in one resource rather than like having to cull through 5 or 6 different resources trying to find all the information I need to manage one patient. So that was kind of the first thing that put in my head, like this should be something. And I kept kind of working in the ER. I transitioned to urgent care after a couple of years, and I was working with nurse practitioners who were experiencing the same thing that I experienced when I first started in the ER. You just, in a perfect world, you have a mentor and someone's holding your hand, and you've got this onboarding period. Andrew was so fortunate. You had 6 months
Mhm.
of basically like one-on-one training with the doctor that he was working with. And in a perfect world, everyone gets that, but in reality, that very rarely happens. And so it's a lot of just learning by doing and figuring it out. And that's what the nurse practitioners that I worked with were experiencing as well. And so I just kept having this thought, like, this should be this should be a resource. This should be an app. This should be something. And so I just kind of started messing with it in 2019. I just developed this as a website initially, just as kind of like a resource you could go to and look up. If someone's got an ankle fracture, well, what splint do they need to be in and what time frame do they need to follow up with a orthopedist? And worked on that for a little while, and then COVID hit, and that obviously turned the whole world upside down. And I went from working on that and seeing patients to trying to figure out how we get COVID tests. What is a COVID test? What's the management? What's the protocol for having telemedicine visits? It was just a lot. We had our first kid in 2021, and then went through some things in 2023 that really just showed us that family is really the most important thing. And we want as much time with our family, enjoying our life as we can. And so that was when we really decided to take the leap and make blocks and do it right, and build it out as a mobile app. So it's been kind of there was a need that we saw, and it just very organically has turned into what it is now.
And we've always kind of thought in the back, started in 2019, Jess was, kind of the brains and behind it. But, we knew we wanted to do it. And when we kind of stopped it for a few years, it was always like, we'd always kind of revisit it and be like, should we go ahead and do it? And, should we throw the money at it financially? And should we, it's going to be a big time commitment. And just always like, didn't do it. And so it was always in the back burner. And then we finally were like, all right, let's do it.
The way I think about it is the discomfort of that, like that fear of regret of not doing it, that started outweighing the fear of doing it. Yeah. And so it just kind of became this thing that's like, we got to do this. Is a need that I know people have. We truly believe in it. And so we just went for it.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's really cool. Let's actually dive in, because I know you said the name of it, Blocks. It's a mobile app. Let's dive into more what it is. And I want to talk about the journey of actually creating it, because we get questions all the time. Like, I have an idea. Where do I start? Right.
Yeah.
Go deeper into what Blocks is, how do you use it? What's the use case? All that type of stuff. And then, like I said, we'll deeper dive into that journey.
Yeah. I mean, simply, it's a mobile app that it created really for urgent care, nurse practitioners, PAs, for low acuity ER providers, family medicine, walk-in family clinics, and then students, as they're going out on rotations, doing their clinicals. And basically, there's a lot of good resources out there that are in maybe paragraph format, or just a lot of in-depth information that you really, it's nice for tests. It's good to know, but it's you don't need it to be able to treat the patient. So, what ours is we've got different sections: highlights, general, treatment, diagnosis, patient education. So a few different drop-down menus, but it's really 4 or 5 bullet points within each of those. And it's like, well, what's the most common, I guess, differential diagnosis? What's the type of, if it's orthopedic, what kind of splint do you put them in? When do they want to follow up? What kind of x-ray do you get? Right. And I mean, in school, you're not taught you need an AP lateral and oblique. You need, they just say, get an x-ray. Well, we kind of break it down what to do. So it's the nitty gritty, kind of what you need to know. And then, we've got pictures, x-rays, different, what's this type of rash look like? And, should be able to reference the app and the, topic, and know what you need to get, what you need in about 10 seconds, and then, okay, you can move on, read about it later in a different, resource, but this is what you need to be able to treat them and move on.
Yeah. A very common scenario is you've got maybe a newer grad who's working in an urgent care setting, and they've got 4 rooms or 5 rooms full of patients. Everybody's got a different complaint, and you don't need to know all of the really in-depth stuff. You need to know like the bare bones basics, and like maybe some clinical pearls, like little clinical tips that you just pick up with experience. And so, like Andrew said, that goal is being able to find what you need in literally 10 seconds or less. And I think we've done a very good job of being able to do that, because that's what I needed.
Yep. It's amazing, because I've been around a lot of startups, a lot of them in my life. Guess that's one of the perks of growing up in Silicon Valley. And it's amazing because we always hear, these companies that are like the Facebooks that are like billion-dollar companies.
Mhm.
What people don't realize is that actually most startups sell for like between like 10 and $100 million, and the next chunk is like 100 million to like 250 million.
Mhm.
And they're all like stories like your own, where it's like, I'm in this profession and I have this need. I'm going to try to find a solution to this.
Mhm.
And either I can't find it or what's out there is just complete garbage.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to create this myself. And people actually they never really have a monetization or business aspect of it. Like, they create it simply for themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then they're like, wait, like I could build a business around this. And then the next thing you know, there's this like, oh, I just sold it for $30 million. Like, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so giving out there some good vibes for you guys that you guys can liquidate and sell it for a lot. And
Oh yes, we'll
Keep it
take
coming.
all the good vibes.
so then the journey, like, right, you guys had the idea, like you brought up like the web. Now, that started actually there first when you started in 2019. Like, you started a website. What was that process like? Did you hire someone? Did you like teach yourself stuff like WordPress, or did you like teach yourself how to code? Like, what was that journey like?
Yeah, all of the above. No, we did not hire anything out. I was being very, very stubborn, and I didn't want to put any money into this. I wanted to do it just because the idea has always been prove the concept, and then we can grow it. And so, no, I got on WordPress. I mean, I have no tech background, so figured out what a web hoster, like who hosts your website, what that even means.
Yeah.
And then fortunately, they've made it so easy now for people, who don't have coding experience to go in and create things. But it still was just not, it just functionally wasn't going to work as a website. And so I did all of that initially. And then when we set it aside for a few years, and then when we came back to it, that's when we got outside help. And we decided that it would be most useful as a mobile app, which comes with a much higher cost than a website or anything else. But that was the best way to do it. So that's when we started interviewing app developers and kind of figuring out what that space looked like. And it's been a massive learning curve, but really interesting because it's not our world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I could attest to that. Just even like through FitBUX, like, I
Yeah.
mean, we probably wasted $2 or $3 million on developers that were absolutely garbage. Like,
It
it's
would be easy to do.
yeah, it's just mind numbing because it's like go down this rabbit hole, and then it's like, why is this done this way? This is, and the thing is like, you might have experienced this, but I'm looking at it like, okay, I want you guys to do X, Y, Z. This doesn't seem that difficult to do, and it's taking you a month to do it. Like, why? And you can
Mhm.
never get answers, and you're not an engineer, right? So you're like, oh, I maybe there's something here that I'm missing. But now that I've been doing this stuff for 8 years, now I'm like, I kind of know how to code a little bit. Like, I'm a beginner, but I know how to code, and I'm like, this should definitely take a week. Like, this is taking a
Mhm.
month. Like, this is ridiculous. You're fired. Like, it's like, shouldn't be taking this long. Like, there's no reason to do this. Um, Especially with some of the AI coding stuff out nowadays. It's like,
Mhm.
I can code this in 15 minutes, guys. Like, what's the
Yeah.
problem here?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So yeah, on that journey though, with building out the mobile app, um, talk about that decision too. Like, why mobile app versus like, a mobile web like app, like that's accessible off of just a URL. Like, why a downloadable app? Like, what was the decision behind, those dynamics? Because I know for a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to, it's always like, do we do a mobile app first? Do we do like a web app that's mobile friendly? Like,
Mhm.
how'd you guys come to that decision?
I think when we decided to do this was not like an overnight decision. And so we decided, like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it the right way. And so we met with multiple app developers. And for anyone who's starting their own thing, I mean, that's with anything. I tell people, like, just talk to multiple people because you can pretty easily parse out
Who's
who's
real and who's
being
not.
above board and who's
Yeah.
not. And so we did that, and in talking to these folks, it just made more sense to develop it as a mobile app rather than something that you have to get on the internet for. And down the line, as we release more and more updated versions, the features that we want to include make more sense being built into a mobile app than on the web. So we fortunately found a great app developer who was just very authentic and normal, and it was not some huge corporation. And like I said, we interviewed a lot of different people, and so we had a really good sense of like these guys are normal, real guys that are going to help us, and they knew who we were, and so they've been great guides kind of along the way.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Um, so in that journey, what's next for you guys? Like, where are you guys at? I know you guys have launched the app. Like, where's it at? What's the next step? What do you guys see going on? Let's just say like the next, I don't know, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, we've been out for about 2 months now, just trying to continuously grow it and kind of learn, as we're going, trying to learn, what all the analytics means, but just we're continuously adding content, trying to update and getting feedback from the users. And, we're going to some schools over the next couple of months as well to, give it to their students as they go out on rotations or graduate. But really, it's just making sure that we're putting in, keeping the content up to date, adding more and more content, and then just trying to get it out to as many people as we can.
And feedback, I think
Yeah.
feedback like this first version is the biggest thing. What our users want to see, we have ideas about what we think would be most beneficial, right? But it doesn't mean anything if the people who are using the app don't think that that's useful. So getting feedback from our users on what are we missing, what do you want to see, if there's new features that need to be added, what does that look like, and just kind of constantly reiterating and updating and taking all of that into account and simultaneously growing.
Yeah, no, that's exciting to hear. For the listeners that want to download it and try it out, where do they go? I'm assuming it's in one of the play like Google Play stores or Android, but is there any way they could test it? Any discounts? Anything that you guys have? Like, where can they get the app at?
Yeah, it's on Apple App Store and Google Play. And if you download it, everyone is automatically, if you make an account, you're signed up for a free week trial just to play around with the app and see if it's useful for you. And then I can give you a code if you want your FitBUX listeners to maybe have like a special promo, like a 1 month free. We can definitely do that too.
Yeah,
But
we'll
everyone
put that
needs
in
to
the
be
show
free.
notes. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. We'll post it up in some of the groups too, so that way you guys have that.
And it's you type in Blocks Medical. It's BLOX
Yeah,
Medical. It'll come up.
because as a startup right now too, everyone that's listening, if you guys are downloading it and using it, that at this stage, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, but at this stage, the feedback is extremely valuable in terms of usability.
Mhm.
Because that's when you start iterating, and that's when like you said, what's the feature that they actually like, so we can continue building on that instead of something
Mhm.
that we think they're going to like.
Right.
So
Yeah.
definitely. Well, it was great having both of you on. Any final words of encouragement or anything else that you guys want to add in or anything else?
You got
Yeah, I
anything?
mean, I guess if it's it's something that if you have something, a dream, a vision, goal that you want to do, and you're very passionate about it, and you feel like it would help people, you just got to go all in. You got to have a good team around you, and everything's got to line up. But you can't be scared to put yourself out there, and even if it's not a good product, but you believe in it, go at it, 110%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it was great having both of you on. Again, it's Blocks Medical, so BLOX, as Andrew said. It's in the App Store, so go down and download it, use it, give feedback. Um, Great having you guys on. I love seeing entrepreneurs. My heart's always in entrepreneurship. Like, I wish everybody would do it. I understand why most don't, because
Yeah.
I have more gray hairs now than I thought I would at this age. But it's fantastic. I hope everybody does it. If you get a chance and you have an idea, take that leap. As always, it's been great, and we will catch you guys on the next podcast.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Joseph.
Joseph.